Hey guys, welcome to this first tutorial on keyboard shortcuts for DaVinci Resolve. As wedding filmmakers, it's important that we use keyboard shortcuts to keep our editing times low. That enables us to enjoy the rest of our lives and not spend all day in front of the computer. So I recommend start learning keyboard shortcuts from the very beginning, get used to it, and it will improve your quality of life. So guys, I'm going to give you a little bit of theory about keyboard shortcuts before we jump into it, because you can customize these to your own requirements, but just bear in mind the basic theory of keeping everything in the same place. So when we're using keyboard shortcuts, we basically don't want our hand to have to move much at all during the process. The more distance our hand has to move between different keys is going to take more time. So basically, I would suggest having your hand over on the left side of the keyboard like this, and having all your primary shortcuts around here. So QWE, ASD, ZXC. If you can keep the shortcuts that you use the most to here, it's going to save you having to move your hand around. Now, as DaVinci Resolve is used for all sorts of applications like feature films and documentaries, the keys they have by default are not the keys we use the most as wedding filmmakers. So I've reprogrammed these keys to what I use the most. If you're new to wedding filmmaking, I suggest you just download the file that I'm including with this course and import it. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So if you just head over to the left, click DaVinci Resolve, hit keyboard customization, hit these 3 points, click import preset, and basically install the download that you'll get from this course. And then all your keys will be mapped to what I recommend. However, if you're used to using another editing platform like Final Cut, you may want to change these. So basically, I'm going to go through all the key critical shortcuts now, tell you what they're called so you can set them up. So basically, if you want to change the shortcut to something you're familiar with, what we'll do is we'll find the name of the shortcut here. So let's say first one, start to playhead. And here we go, let's find it in Ripple, start to playhead. Now, currently it says Q. I can delete that and add another one, but I like Q, so I'm putting Q back in. And guys, that's how you change it. But if you find that doesn't work, you might find it's because that shortcut is mapped to somewhere else. So you may have to find the command by clicking on it, say here, and then just deleting it if it's already used somewhere else. That confused me to begin with, because when I first started changing shortcuts, it didn't work, but that's because they're already mapped somewhere else. You have to just make sure where it's mapped is deleted, because DaVinci doesn't automatically do that. All right, guys, so let's have a look at some of these shortcuts and the actions that they perform. So to begin with, my most commonly used shortcut basically enables you to cut everything before the playhead, which is this thing, and ripple the timeline. So here we've got the next clip. So I want to cut everything before the playhead. I can press one button. And you notice it's not deleting the audio. If I hit that button here, it will. That's just the linking and unlinking of audio. So guys, this function is called start to playhead. Let's find it in here. Keyboard customization, we just looked at this one. Search start to playhead, and it's in trim ripple. Start to playhead. So I've used Q for this because it's right there on where I keep my hand. super close and I use it all the time. So these top three is what I'm going to use most of the time, and my fingers are right there resting. Now the brother to start to playhead is called end to playhead. And basically that deletes everything after the playhead. So anything after the playhead gets cut. So guys, you can quite easily go through your footage, hit start to playhead, have a little bit. When you're happy with that, hit end to playhead, and you've made your cut of that clip. And I can use the mouse to go for a bit faster. All right, so for me, I've used W right next to Q. Let's hit end to playhead. It's also in trim ripple. So guys, if you want to change it to something else, hit cross, type it in. Don't forget to delete it if it's anywhere else already, otherwise it's not going to work. Right, so that's start and end to playhead. But what if you're going through, you want to cut the beginning out and then you're happy with a little bit, but you're not sure if in the rest of the clip there might be something you want to use. Then basically we use a command called razor. And for me, I've put E as that. So I've got Q, W and E all right next to each other. And then I can look through and I can use start to playhead or end to playhead again, just so I can make a few cuts if I want to use a few clips from one clip. So here, it was a bit out of focus to begin with. I might hit start to playhead here. I like this bit, but I'm not sure if I'm done with the rest of the clip, so I'm going to add a cut with E, which is called razor. Keep playing. Oh, this bit's also quite nice. So I may press E again. And there we go. So let's head over to the keyboard shortcuts. Now this one is called razor. So timeline razor, and we can change it here if you want, guys. And again, don't forget to delete the other usages of E if it's somewhere else, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so I've made 2 cuts to this clip, and now I just want to get rid of the rest because I'm done. And for that, I'm just going to press A. If you notice, when I pressed A, it brought the clip in front to where that is now. So the name of that is called a ripple delete. So let's have a look and find that in the shortcuts. Ripple delete. So it's an edit timeline, ripple delete. I put A, edit timeline, ripple delete. All right, guys. So just hit pause if you need to change this to your own setting. Just do one bit at a time. Type in the shortcut that you want if you're using another platform before and you're used to it. And don't forget to delete it if it's used anywhere else. Okay. What if you just want to delete it and you don't want to ripple the timeline? Well, you can use a cut command. Now, for me, I've put that as X. Let's search for cut. So cut timeline, cut X. So you can change that, guys. And I think the default might be Control X. So I might just add that in. If you guys are used to pressing Control X, these preferences are totally up to you. I know a lot of these default commands like copy and cut and paste, you press Control in Windows, but because I use these so much, I've also just changed them to be used without the control. So I can just press X, etc. So X is cut, but it leaves the timeline where it is. Right, let's have a pause there, guys, because that's a great start. Have a little practice, guys. Make sure those are all set up. I don't want to overwhelm you just yet. We're going to go into part 2 when you're ready. Just to note, I'm going to give you guys a document you can download and print out. So you've got all of my keyboard shortcuts. You can just reference that document. And if you want to edit it with your own, just edit that Word document and put in your own buttons. And there you go. That'll be a handy reference whilst you get used to working with a new platform. Okay, guys, welcome to part 2 of keyboard shortcuts. Now, we've done Q, W, E, and A. Now we've got S and D, which we should assign to commonly used shortcuts. And let's have a look at timelines. So we've got, let's go across to our ceremony. So I'm going to link clips. Now I want to basically get these clips to be synchronized. What I recommend is have S as synchronize. Now DaVinci will go through, try its best to synchronize these audio clips. And it's done it. Fantastic. It doesn't always work if you've got cameras that are picking up different noises. You may have to go manually look through the waveforms to match them up. So yeah, synchronize is quite often used. Let's have a look. Keyboard customization, type in synchronize. And actually, it's not called synchronized here, it's called auto align clips. And guys, that's why I'm going through the names, because it can be quite difficult to set up the shortcuts if you don't know the names of these, and that's confused me when I was setting these up. So synchronize is called auto align clips. And we do based on waveform, and change that to, I recommend S for synchronize. I use it quite a lot, but you can change it to something else if you like. Don't forget to delete any other instances of that particular button if it's used somewhere else. Close. All right, so now they're synchronized. And guys, what if we want to delete the space between a couple of clips? Well, let's select them, and I suggest a shortcut for D, delete gaps. Let's have a look in keyboard shortcuts, search, delete gaps. See, it appears under edit, delete gaps. Change the keystroke to D or something else if you prefer. Okay, so something that we need to use all the time is undo. And for me, I've changed that to Z. I think by default it's Control Z, and obviously we're used to using Control Z a lot with Windows and other software programs, but because I use it so much, I just removed the control and it's just Z. So find keyboard shortcuts. This one is just called undo. And there we go. So I've put it as Z. If it's confusing for you, you can use Control Z, that's absolutely fine. I use Control Z to redo. So it's backwards, but because I'm using Z more often, or because I'm using undo more often, I kept that as just Z and I've put Control Z as redo. So let's have a look, keyboard customization, redo. There we go. So if you want to change that to anything you like, please go ahead. All right, guys, so let's head back to timeline 1. And now all my clips are in slow motion, but what if I wanted to put it back to normal speed? Well, that would be changing the rate. So I've got R to change clip speed. I could change that to 400. And I might want to hit ripple timeline. That will bring everything back without leaving a space. Hit change. So now I'm back to full speed. So, keyboard customization. This one is called change clip speed. So I've put R. If you want to do something else, please go ahead. Okay, guys. So copy and paste is obviously super important. For me, I've taken out the control element and I'm just using C and V, which are kind of Windows default commands. So for copy, I press C. For paste, I press V. If you want to change it, let's go to keyboard customization, hit in here, copy, and it's cut timeline copy. So Control C is still valid, and C I've put just to save a split second and a finger stroke, and paste. I've got V. I've put paste as just V. So C for copy, V for paste. If you accidentally click something up here, like the razor tool, and you want to switch back, I've used Control V to switch back to the button. So I hope that's not too confusing for you guys. Feel free to change that around if you really want Control V to be paste. And guys, one super important function is to be able to paste into a timeline, but push out the clip. So it's a non-destructive paste. Say I want to copy this bit and I want to put it here, but I don't want to obliterate the clips in front like it would. If I press Control Shift V, then it just pushes it in. And this is called paste insert, guys. So keyboard customization, paste insert. There we go. Edit timeline, both Control, Shift and V for paste insert. And feel free to change that, guys, if you want. All right, guys, so that's enough for part 2. Have a break there, have a little practice with these. And then in part 3, we're going to look at more keyboard shortcuts that are less often used, but still necessary to know. Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of this series of keyboard shortcuts for wedding filmmaking with DaVinci Resolve. So in part 1 and 2, we looked at the critical keyboard shortcuts that we use all the time. And now we're going to look at those keyboard shortcuts that we don't use quite so often, but we need to know anyway. So let's jump right in. Right, so when selecting parts of the timeline, we can press I and O. And that's useful primarily for rendering. We can go into the render page, we can render in and out range, and we're just going to print out that little bit of the clip. Now, if there's anything selected in the clip, whenever we hit paste, even if the playhead is somewhere else, it's going to paste in to where that in point is. So sometimes it can be a bit annoying to have that thing there. To get rid of it, press Alt, I and O, and you'll get rid of it. So I for in, O for out, Alt I to get rid of in point, Alt O to get rid of out point. Makes sense? And guys, these less used keyboard shortcuts, they're all default, so you probably don't need to change them, and I haven't changed them. Now, something that I do use quite a lot actually is pressing Alt Y. That will select everything to the right of the playhead. So I can just move everything across, selects everything before. I don't use that one as much. Now guys, there are some features that are considered hidden features because not so many people know about them, and that is swapping clips around. So if I press Control Shift and comma, or the arrow to the left, I can swap the clip to the one on the left, and the same with the other side with the period or the arrow to the right. And these ones are called swap clip, towards left and right. Very useful. If you don't hold the Control and Shift and you press those arrows, you can nudge the clip one frame at a time. Don't use that too often, but it's there. And guys, if you want to play through the timeline, there's a couple options. We've got JKL, J is for reverse, and we can hit it a few more times to go faster. K stop, L coming forward. Again, you can go through a bit faster by hitting it a few times. That can be useful to scan through your videos, especially if you're rewatching, say, speeches to try and find those nice clips. You can listen at double speed and go through it a bit faster. And guys, stop play is just spacebar. So another option there to play. And guys, one final useful technique to scroll through the timeline, and our final shortcut is up and down to move through the clips. And that can be quite useful if you're in the color editor and you want to jump to the next clip without clicking. You can press up and down on both of these and it's going to work. Alright guys, so thanks so much for watching these keyboard shortcuts. Again, print out those pieces of paper. If you've made any changes, put them there. Have that to your side whilst you get used to this. If you're coming from Final Cut, again, feel free to change anything you want. If you're coming from Premiere, probably a lot of these are going to be quite similar. So, thanks for watching guys. I know that's kind of the most complicated part of this course, probably just memorizing these things. It's a bit of a process to get used to something like that. But once you've memorized it and learned it, it's going to be super useful. So make use of these shortcuts guys, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Thanks for watching.